He said, I said, what if it was the other way around? What if it was a class of Buddhists who wanted, to do their prayers and their ceremony? What would you do? Would you file a lawsuit so that, because you're Christian? And he said, well, he very frankly said, I hope that I would have tolerance. That's what this nation was built on, was tolerating all the different religions. But he said, in this particular case, we're the majority, so I should hope that the one person would tolerate us.
But here's the deal. You're not forcing anyone. This 18-year-old that's graduating is not going to be like, wow, they're praying, so I'm going to start praying now. First of all, that would do him some good. But secondly, you're not going to influence anybody.
No,
He's set in his way. All he has to do is sit there and play on his iPhone or do whatever he wants to do while everybody else prays and gives thanks to God.
He's trying to prove a point. From
That's
what I
all he's doing.
understand,
This is a stage.
He's an argumentative kid with a reputation for taking arguments with teachers, and he's trying to prove a point.
This is a stage, and Greg Abbott is taking this on, in my opinion, because he led the fight on the Ten Commandments, wasn't it, Lyle? He led the fight keeping the Ten Commandments on the Capitol, which I'm glad he did. But now, so it's one of these deals like the gun control issue. You give an inch, then they're going to take a yard. So if they're successful in stopping this happening in this public setting, then now this is going to be precedence for something else. So I'm glad they're taking up this fight as a Christian.
Are you sure you're a Democrat?
But aren't you glad?
Are you 100% sure of that?
But aren't you glad that they're having the conversation now that they can have the conversation?
Sure. Well,
aren't we happy about that?
Lyle Larson, are Christians to get along, go along? We talked yesterday with a pastor, and we asked the question, is there too much turning of the other cheek in this country, as we've seen repeated rollbacks, incremental rollbacks of public expression, things like religious expression around the holidays, and even now taking religious references out of the holidays. It's winter vacation, it's happy holidays. I mean, not that we want to be at war with other religions. Nobody wants that. But is it time to start standing up for some of these things, as they're doing in Castro?
I think that the whole political appeasement process that we've seen over the last 2 decades is eroding the foundation of our society.
Do we do that because we're a majority and we don't feel threatened?
Well, I think that we're trying to do the political correct thing, and that's the whole issue with me is we don't have anything that's really fundamentally messing with anybody's rights. Let's keep doing what we're doing. I have a problem appeasing a few, and we talked about this a few minutes ago about this this teenager that's in this predicament as far as being agnostic. I guess atheists or agnostic or either one. I think the issue is then they should have a ceremony for him. One, there should be a ceremony of one. And any agnostic or atheist that's in that school should attend that ceremony. And it can be done before or after the regular ceremony. But the balance of the students, let's go through the process and let's let them have the prayer. Everybody's amenable to that. And then we'll accommodate that one. But to have a lawsuit and the rest of it, I don't, he's basically drawn himself in a corner. And and I think Nico was saying, well, the next thing they'll say is, well, they weren't allowed to be involved in the regular ceremony. Right. Well, that he selected that situation, and so let's address it. That if he's very concerned about having a ceremony where the prayer, let's have a separate ceremony. Let's have the administrators. Let's go through a process. It's going to be a quick ceremony, by the way, because we don't have a prayer, and we don't.
Quick rebuttal from you two, and then we'll take a break.
A quick. On the other side of this, what if you all of a sudden now you set a precedent and every other religion wants to have their separate ceremony? That cost is going to go into effect, time's going to go into that, right? I'm just playing devil's advocate with you. And then on top of that, not only are you setting a precedent, but aren't you negating the whole tolerance theory? Well,
that's a good point. I'm just saying for this situation right now that we're waiting with bated breath about what's going to happen with the Fifth Court of Appeals. I think in lieu of that, let's just set up a separate ceremony and then reconcile it.
I think these people need to search their hearts of what their true intentions are, why they're doing this. If there really is a faith-based reason or a non-faith-based reason, or is it just a platform for themselves? But the Supreme Court, highest court in our land, has over and over ruled on tradition. And this is tradition. It's like that Trinity student that was so up in arms because it said in the year of our Lord. First of all, it's a Christian school, and that's number one. You went there on your own, so you don't like it, go somewhere else. That's number one. But number two, this is tradition. I mean, whether people like it or not, and I'm not trying to offend any non-Christians, I promise you I'm not. But our founding fathers were Judeo-Christian believers. I mean, that they believed in that. That's part of our history. That isn't, but our Constitution says you don't have to believe what our founding fathers believed, but they were God-fearing men and women. So, but so that's just the way it is. So I think they could have just sat there quietly, the Schultz family, no disrespect to them, and just sat there quietly and then been happy and gone to eat.
We're back with the gang on a Friday morning into the newsroom at 10:46.
In early trading on
Be able to guarantee the security of those passengers without said groping and frisking. So the ledge temporarily folded. Now it looks like some members of the legislature, Lyle Larson, want to put that bill into the special session. Were you a supporter of the anti-groping bill?
I think overwhelming the House
Do you
supported
think they
it.
could have really enforced a no-fly zone over Texas?
No, I think that's a typical reaction by the federal government anytime any state pushes back to a rule that we feel like is invading people's privacy. They're going to always threaten funding. They're going to threaten activities in your state.
This is quite a threat. I mean, this is more than just we won't give you a block grant. This is saying we will cut you off. This is what you do, Nico, to an enemy country, not a state, right?
That's right.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The scandal shouldn't be over the bill. The scandal should be over the letter.
You know, the content in the bill itself basically was well drafted, and it talked about inappropriate touching of genitalia.
And having probable cause.
Right, and in lieu of just doing it on a random basis. Right. And I thought that it had merit. Now, we passed it, and we felt like it was going to sail through the Senate. With those threats, then everybody sort of backed away and said, well, can they actually do that? And we didn't see a whole lot of folks come to our aid. The congressional folks or the senatorial folks, they didn't jump in and say, you know, that's an overreach by an administrator in the legal profession that works for the federal government. And in lieu of that, the Senate basically said, well, we can't jeopardize the economic viability of having these flights come into our state.
I think they should have said, come and try it.
Yeah, well, I think that's where we're at now. I think
the airlines would have been on our side. Americans not going to stop flying to DFW.
And Southwest is not going to change their hub.
Yeah. Oh, we'll just rebuild our business to not include Texas.
So, I mean, in the way I understand it, is the governor's going to put it back on the charge in the special session, and it'll sail through both the House and the Senate again, and he'll sign it, and then basically the TSA folks are going to have to be a little bit more responsible in how they go in and make sure that these folks aren't carrying any weapons and have the probable cause. I mean, it really is. It's the proverbial grandmother going through the airport and she's being frisked, and kids, and that's what really stimulated this whole process.
Here's the problem, though. The problem is you're going to have non-law enforcement, non-attorneys trying to determine what probable cause is. That's the problem. You know, when you look at it from a constitutional Fourth Amendment issue, searches and seizures, you have a lessened, a reduced expectation of privacy in certain arenas. When you're at the border, when you're traveling. So I mean, I travel not every day, but thank God I've never been felt up.
Yes, yes.
Yet. Thank you.
And what would this do for the other states? I mean, I'm wondering.
Utah's filing a bill to do this, by the way.
Yeah.
And I bet other states will follow.
So what's on that bill now? So you're saying that the actual TSA member has to have probable cause before they can figure
that, and it basically tells you what appropriate and inappropriate touching is as far as determining. Yeah, it's basically common sense. You're not going to be able to frisk everybody to the degree you're frisking them right now. I mean, full body cavity searches, maybe if somebody's caught with drugs in their possession, something like that might warrant something to the degree that everybody's experiencing at TSA. And I think there's a balance between determining whether somebody's really a threat and getting on a flight and doing something disruptive versus just doing it on a random basis. And I have gone through that random search when I was basically, it came up to the number and they said, you go over there, and I went through the machine, the x-ray machine. It was in another city, and then they went through the whole search process, and I can tell you, it got my blood rushed a little bit. You know, I think that there was some inappropriate things going on, and then I can imagine if it's a woman or a child, that it's a whole lot more egregious than what I
All right,
experienced.
got to hold it there. Take our break for the news. We're back with more Gang of Four after 11 on News Talk 550 KTSA. Say good morning to our good-looking Gang of Four over here today. Lyle Larson, Nico Lahood, Sylvia Rincon. Karen, you would never pick up a hitchhiker, right? I mean, who does that, right? Who picks up? Who hasn't seen the movie?
Yeah.
All right, so the other day in Edmonton, Alberta, professional hockey player, guy plays for the Edmonton Oilers, is driving along. He's taking his dog to the dog park. He's driving his dog to exercise his dog at the dog park. And he sees a guy hitchhiking on the side of the road. And he went by him and then realized, hey, wait a minute, that was Bono, lead singer of U2. Backs up, picks up Bono, and gives him a ride. Bono was hitchhiking in Canada, which in and of itself is
It's bizarre.
seems like there's a story there. As a gesture of appreciation, Bono gave this guy tickets and a backstage pass to the concert that they were going to give, I guess, that night or sometime that week. I just want to point out that if you pick up a hitchhiker today, you are not likely to get U2 tickets. Just let it be known.
Why was he hitchhiking?
Your mileage may vary.
I'll go with YouTube.
11:10 on News Talk 550 KTSA. Jack Riccardi Show. Gang of Four underway for a Friday morning. On our gang, just to reintroduce and reset the table, we have Fox San Antonio reporter Sylvia Rincon, who has peeled herself away from the news beat to be with us on Gang of Four, but she's following the news on her phone. You might want to get a close-up of that.
I'm sorry, I am.
No,
That's
I want you to.
breaking
I'm
news.
impressed that you're...
It's rude, though.
No, it's not. In your case, it's not. If Nico did it, it would be rude. You're a working journalist. You've got to stay. This is like the 21st century version of having a police radio scanner or something, right?
I wish it was a little bit better than that. I left the radio in the car, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, it'd be better if you had bring that in next time. And while we're trying to have a radio show,
Hold
we hear.
on. The South and the cities.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're glad to have you here, and we appreciate you.
I'm always glad to be here.
Nico Lahood is an attorney and once and future political candidate. Not putting any pressure on you,
Thank
but
you.
hurry up and decide, would you?
Yes, sir.
And then Lyle Larson, who has had a lot of time in politics. Although, Lyle, I have to say, you're one of these guys, you've been around and in politics for a long time, but you're very disdainful of politics.
Yeah.
It's like a necessary evil for you.
It really is. I like governing. I don't really like the politics.
You like the power.
I like the governing. I like the policy making, trying to fix things from an incremental standpoint, whether it be infrastructure, healthcare, education. It's something that former Governor Dolph Briscoe told me when I was on the city council. He said that his experience in public service is you never solve all the problems, but you try to make a difference in your generation to pass it forward. And hopefully you make a positive impact. And so I have no illusion that I'll ever fix anything, but I'll try to make some kind of difference, and that's why I enjoy the governing part of it. It's not the politics.
You're really moving Sylvia over here.
It's so beautiful.
But if you know,
do you want to go over and give him a hug?
I want to, yeah.
That's great.
Go ahead and give him a hug.
I'll wait.
Yeah, group hug.
That was very moving.
It was beautiful.
Rick Perry had said, I'm not running for president. I've got the job I like. Now he's saying, I'm going to think about it once the legislative session is over, but then added, I think about a lot of things. I guess in the 21st century, you have to really act like you don't want the presidency when you really want the
It's like
presidency,
dating.
right?